7 Most Incredible Things Found in Abandoned Mansions. What do the things we leave behind say about us? Well, these abandoned properties and the surprising secrets they're hiding will certainly make you wonder about their previous owners, and why they left in such a hurry. Let's check the 7 most incredible things found in abandoned mansions. But before we start, please subscribe to our channel, like and comment to support us, thank you. Let's start. 1. Stash of guns. Abandoned homes contain a lot of things, which are mostly ordinary household items. However, the object found in this deserted home was anything but ordinary. One day, the neighbor of the abandoned mansion heard some noise inside the house and called the police. The cop arrived at the location and found 4 juveniles inside from ages 11 to 14 along with a massive stash of guns including a flintlock muzzleloader, rifle AK-47, a submachine gun, assault rifles, handguns, and more. Thankfully, no one was hurt. It turned out that these children took the guns to their treehouse and played with them. They also kept 3 handguns hidden in the treehouse while leaving the rest inside the abandoned home. Police managed to track down the home's owner, who was a 93-year-old man in a local hospital, but they couldn't find out why he left the guns there for several years. However, the juveniles would be facing charges. 2. Prohibition-era whiskey. If something good happened in 2020, was that this New York couple found 70 bottles of whiskey from the Prohibition era hidden in the floorboards and walls of their new home. The property was built in 1915 and the pair, Nick and Patrick, were informed that it initially belonged to a bootlegger. Both thought that the story was some legend and dismissed it as a rumor until they decided to renovate the house. A year later, after buying the mansion, the couple wanted to do some major renovations, and while Nick started pulling off, skirting along the bottom of the mudroom when a package fell out. The package contained a bottle of whiskey covered in hay, paper, and glass. Nick couldn't believe what he was looking at. Turns out the rumors were true, so he ventured further into the mudroom and found a hatch inside the floor. The couple was astonished to find more such packages. In total, they were 7 bundles with 6 bottles in them. 7 weeks later, Nick and Patrick discovered more whiskey bottles wrapped in tissue paper and straw before being bundled into half a dozen packages. 3. Tortoise. A police officer had received a report of a rancid smell coming from an abandoned mansion in Madagascar. So the team was sent to look up what was inside it, and they were extremely surprised to see a total of 10,068 radiated tortoises. These tortoises are critically endangered and their population is decreasing at an alarming rate, and all thanks to poaching. The animal is sold on the black market for its shell and star pattern. Each room of the house was filled with radiated tortoises. The horrible smell was unbearable for the police officers as well as for wildlife experts, but still, they had to rescue these poor creatures. These tortoises were part of the pet trade, and initially, 3 people were arrested in connection with it. The authorities removed these endangered species and took them to local rescue centers. Unfortunately, due to ill treatment, malnutrition, illness, and dehydration, 180 passed away on the spot and 300 lost their lives upon being rescued. Poaching for the black market is anticipated to wipe out at least a third of the world's tortoises and freshwater species within the next 2 decades. 4. Gold bars. The couple were extremely happy when they found the gold bars. However, later they wished that it would have been better if they had not stumbled upon them. A pair had a property in Rouen in 2002, and almost 7 years later, the duo accidentally discovered 6 gold bars and another 22 were found in 2013. The couple decided to give it to the authorities, the mayor's office, police, and the Bank of France. Everything seemed normal until the pair ended up being involved in an unlawful investigation revolving around these gold bars. Apparently, someone was selling these ingots and earned money from them. The worth of each ingot was around 800,000 euros. The previous owners of the house, including 8 children and the seller's widow, learned about the investigation and the gold bars. They sued the new owner for the damages and demanded compensation, and the court also passed the judgment in the favor of the old owner. The new couple was made to return the ingots they hadn't sold, along with money from the sale of 15. 5. A classic painting. Nothing is more intriguing than exploring a mansion that has been left abandoned for almost 7 decades. The owner of this Paris home decided to leave the city right before World War II broke out in Europe. The lady traveled to the south of France and never went back. Fast forward to 70 years later, after the demise of the owner at the age of 91, the heirs decided to take a look at the mansion. With the help of an expert, the family members discovered something unbelievable in the abandoned home. The mansion was full of gorgeous furniture, piles of love letters, and a stunning piece of artwork hanging on a wall. The painting was made by the famous Italian painter Giovanni Bologna, and the person in the artwork was the grandmother of the owner. She was an actress and had a lot of admirers. Among the love letter, one was written by the painter Giovanni himself. The painting ended up selling for $3 million, and the incredible family story might have driven up the price. 6. A surgery room. This surgery room looks like the one that is shown in a horror movie. The room still has jars of human kidneys on display preserved in formaldehyde, along with a massive library of books on urology. The house belonged to a couple who were doctors, and it had been untouched for almost 15 years. The lower 2 floors of the home had an operating room, examination rooms, storerooms, a library, and waiting areas. Many of these rooms were prepped and ready for patients with vials and syringes. In the upper 3 floors were the living area and types of furniture. The couple must have been quite rich. In fact, one of the rooms even had a beautiful Steinway grand piano. It probably doesn't get much creepier than an old surgery room, almost like a time capsule sitting abandoned with everything still inside. 7. Rolls of cash. There are many reasons for a house being abandoned, and one of them could be that the family members left the house and never came back. A photographer named Dave had heard about a deserted mansion filled with antiques and decided to pay a visit and click on a few photos, not knowing that there was a lot more. He visited the abode in Canada, and while he was setting his camera up, the photographer noticed a yellow bag rolled up behind the mattress of a bed. Obviously, Dave opened up the bag out of curiosity, and what he found inside left him amazed. The bag was filled with tightly packed rolls of Canadian and American banknotes totaling $6,800 from the 1960s and 70s. However, the honest man didn't keep it to himself. Instead, he made his goal to find any members of the family who were alive and hand them over. After doing some research, he finally identified a female relative and called her up to explain the whole scenario. The lady was nervous on the phone and said she would talk to her husband. Eventually, Dave met with the pair and didn't pry for family history. However, he learned the money most likely came from her grandparents' fruit stand.